Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Women and Babies in the Know with Constance Lewis. We are joined here live by her today on the podcast and Zoomcast. Excited because she's here to help so many of us with our fertility and families with sleep and all the above. So, welcome, Constance, to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm wonderful. I'm super excited about today. So thank
Well,
you for having me.
thank you for being here. Would you mind giving us a little introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mom. I dropped my
Yeah,
mouse. I apologize.
you're good. I'm Constance Lewis. I am the founder of a company called Women and Babies in the Know. And I am a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse practitioner for 8 years. Before that, I was a nurse for 12 years. So I've always been in the nursing field. I have 2 kids now and one on the way. So that's exciting. And I live in Florida right now and I work in a private OBGYN office. And I started this little side business that we're going to talk about today.
Amazing, amazing. Ladies, listen up. She's a great coach. She can help you with pregnancy, fertility, postpartum, so many things we're going to get to today. But I think it's more important that we dive in more about you. I know I read that you used to want to be a veterinarian and well, you're in the medical field. So tell me more about your journey and about yourself and your love and passion of why you're here and why you're helping so many women like this.
Yeah. Growing up, I just always knew that I wanted to help something. At first, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian because I just loved animals. And I remember volunteering in middle school at a vet clinic and I couldn't breathe and my allergies were crazy. And my mom was like, I think you're going to have to pick something else. This isn't going to work. I
Yeah.
was like, oh no. So then I got into health occupation class in high school. And that's just a class where they teach you, health occupations, how to be a certified nursing assistant. And I did that and I became a certified nursing assistant, before I even graduated high school. And I worked, in a hospital and I found that that was what I really loved doing. So that's
Amazing.
kind of how it started. And, from there, I just kept going to more school. I kept going, I worked in so many different areas. And I've taught nursing schools. I worked in hospitals. I worked in communities. I've worked in a lot of areas. So I have a lot of knowledge and I just want to make people feel better. I want to heal them. That's what I'm here for.
Amazing. All right. Well, let's get started and talk a little bit about your services. I mentioned fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, lactation, even helping new parents get that sleep that they do lack. And your overall mission really is to educate, to inspire, and to support and empower future families. So you're also a certified sleep coach.
Yeah, I am.
Can we start
Yeah.
on that? Tell me what that is all about, because and a lot of people don't realize the importance of having someone help you. Because mom of two, myself 6 and 8, I never got help with the sleep aspect, and my friend had the coach, and it was amazing, and I never did, and I suffered for a long time. So please explain the benefits of that and what you do as well.
Yeah, I agree. So when I had my first baby, I was going through a lot and he was not a good sleeper. He was up every 2 hours at night. He would barely take a 20-minute nap. I was holding him all day. I couldn't get anything done. I wasn't eating. It was just, new mom stuff. And I remember he was about maybe 3 months old, and I was in the bathroom pumping and just crying and sobbing because I'm like, why can't I just, I'm so tired. My baby won't sleep. What am I doing wrong? Like, I'm a nurse in with babies. I was a NICU nurse. Why can't I figure this out? And so I came across this little thing called Sleep Sense, and I joined and I got the book and I read the book and I started implementing those strategies, and it really worked. And, by 4 or 5 months, he was really taking good naps and sleeping through the night. I felt like a new woman. My relationship, was going better with my husband. It just overall, we needed sleep, and babies need to
Hmm.
know how to have good sleep habits. And so that's kind of where I realized I could help others. And that's how I got my start with that.
Amazing. And really, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware, that could be so beneficial. And by the way, you're in Florida, but you're working with people all over the world because your business is
Yes.
virtual, right?
Yeah. So I do pretty much all Zoom. I mean, if somebody wants me in Florida to do like an in-home consultation, some people will say, come look at my nursery and just
Hmm.
see what do I need to do to make it, more sleep friendly. I will do that. But it's mostly just Zoom calls and support via Voxer service and email. And so I can help anyone anywhere.
Beautiful. All right. So infant, toddler sleep, that's one of our specialties. And there's so much
Mhm.
more. Where did you want to hit next?
Yeah, well, so for the sleep, so people kind of say, always ask me, what do you do? And I'll touch more on this on podcast later. But what do I do with sleep? They're like, do you make them cry it out? A lot of people have those questions. But basically, I help teach parents how to teach their children good sleep habits. And actually, this lasts a lifetime. There's a lot of studies out there that supports this. My approach is really focusing on finding a root cause of the sleep problem, which can be everybody's different. It's so individualized. I work towards fixing and improving that problem. I look at the whole picture. I look at their temperament, their needs, their comfort mechanism, parents' wishes, their eating habits. We go into that. So that's kind of what I do for sleep. If you're really wondering, what does that include? And we can go as fast as you want. We can go as slow as you want. We can go as intense as you want. So I kind of just make those packages individualized for that parent and how comfortable they feel. Because a lot of mommies don't like to hear their baby cry. I mean, I hated hearing my babies cry. I still do. So that can be a very sensitive subject. So if you're wondering, I'll dive more into that later, but that's pretty much where the sleep thing comes from.
Wow. All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. All right. What else is on tap, Constance?
Uh, well, the fertility coaching. So I help women navigate the fertility world. I went through a very long infertility journey and 7 years of ups and downs and miscarriages and IVF treatments and just a lot of things. And I felt really alone, and I felt like there wasn't anyone to help me navigate that and tell me what was right, what was wrong, what I needed to do. And so I'm there for women who are going through that. If you're just starting out trying to get pregnant now, or if you're already kind of in it and you're just looking for that support, I kind of develop a plan for you to do that as well. So that's
Yeah,
another
and
thing I
some
do.
important things. Look, I've been down this road as well. I had my first child through IVF, and again,
Mhm.
it's very expensive to go to a doctor to talk fertility. But I
Yeah.
learned so much. Now, for the next time around, like I was able to learn and navigate. Like one thing I'm just going to say that nobody ever talks about, even your regular OBGYN, which really upsets me, is why don't you get a simple blood test called AMH? Right,
Yeah.
for the anti-melanarian hormone. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's going to give you an idea of your egg reserve. Doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean it's right, but normally it's kind of there. So if your egg reserve good, great. My egg reserve at 35 was like 0.05. And
Yeah.
and I still had a baby, but they
Yeah.
said, oh, you're like a 60-year-old woman at this point,
Yeah.
So again, it's just one number that my cousin going through IVF in California, she's like, even her IVF doctor didn't talk to her about this. I said, that's just one important test, doesn't mean it's everything, but oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And that's
I
something
know.
I learned how to learn from going to the doctor. What are your thoughts on that? Just simple test.
Yeah. It's so you're spot on. So I work in private OBGYN practice right now as a nurse practitioner in Florida. And I have so many fertility patients that come in and they've been other places or they just don't know. And they've been doing this for a year or 2 years and nobody has even done one simple blood test. You're right, nothing. And so that is something that I recommend. And in my separate coaching business, I don't work as a nurse practitioner.
Yeah,
I know a lot more about it. So that's kind of a fine line that I have to
that's,
walk. But I do give them recommendations about, hey, let's ask your OBGYN to do this for you.
yep.
Let's ask them to run this test. So we dive deep into that because you're right. There's so many missed things. Being a doctor, an OBGYN or nurse practitioner, you're busy. You're so busy. And that's what I'm going to talk about later. But I don't get that time with those patients that I want. Like these fertility patients that come in, I have 15 minutes with them. And I want to
Yeah.
spend an hour with them and days with them and weeks, and help them, but I don't get that time. And so that's why I started this business so I could help them answer those questions and ask those questions and do exactly what
Amazing.
you're talking about.
I just did my day
Yeah.
3 blood work last week too. I want to check. I'm 45, so that menopause
Yeah.
thing could be right around the corner. I don't know, but that's also so important. See, I'm talking to an expert here. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
education,
And by
man.
the
That's what
way,
I'm
are you also working with couples, not just women in particular? Are you working with men, spouses as well, boyfriends?
Yeah, that's a huge piece of it. It's not just about the woman and I'll tell you this later, but I wrote a book. I'm in a chapter of a book that's been written about infertility. And that's a huge piece of it in my chapter that I talk about that nobody looked at my husband. It was just all me, all me, all me. And that huge component was missed and there was something wrong with him. And that didn't get caught until two miscarriages later. So I work with the whole couple and we go with both of them. We look at everything, their stress, their relationship, the toxins, what are they putting on their body? What are they eating? Everything nitty gritty down to it. That's what I go into it with them. And we develop a package and what their needs are to kind of figure that out with them. So
Great. That's beautiful. I'm glad you reminded everyone out there too. Yes, men and women can benefit from this for sure.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the fertility part too, and then the postpartum, the postpartum, every step of it is hard, especially being a new parent and having that baby. And I had so much experience with babies and lactation and childbirth education. I taught all of that. And then I brought this baby home and I was like, what do I do with this thing? Like, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, and going into that caused a lot of anxiety, a lot of postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, breastfeeding difficulties. And I just felt so alone. I had a great supportive family and a husband, but I still felt really alone. So I know how that feels, and I don't want other women to feel like that. My postpartum support packages have all that. And I also have a certified breastfeeding counselor that is on team with me as well, too. So lots of things.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. And by the way, let's talk a little about postpartum, what that is exactly. Could you tell me if people out there listening, I've heard of it, don't really know what does postpartum even mean? And I know you heard postpartum depression. Can you explain to us what's happening in a body after you have a baby?
Yeah. So your hormones change dramatically after that baby comes out. I mean, instantly women feel differently. And there's so much to do with yourself. So you're trying to care for a new baby, but also your body is trying to heal. And that takes a lot. It's physically, spiritually, mentally, just a lot for your body to heal. And so so you're trying to do two things: take care of this new thing and get to know it, right? This new baby, and then take care of yourself. And so the hormones really are tough, and a lot of women will go through a postpartum anxiety or depression and not even realize that's what it is, or be embarrassed or ashamed to talk about it. And it's actually pretty prevalent. Postpartum anxiety and depression affects about 25 to 30% of women, and that's a pretty big percentage. And I think it's getting higher. I at least see that in my practice, a percentage going up. But a lot of women are afraid to talk about it. It's getting better, I find, especially doctors are more open and willing, but it's hard. And anything from depression, people think of postpartum depression as I want to hurt my baby, right? Or I want to hurt myself, but that's not really all that it's about. I mean, sometimes you just have anxiety. I remember with my little first baby son, I had thoughts of him getting hurt 20 times a day. And that was an anxiety and obsession and anxiety that was caused from the hormones, right? And so those things all go together. And so I kind of love when women reach out to me, and there's a lot of strategies that we can do, medical and non-medical, to kind of get through that. So you don't feel alone. So you don't feel guilty. So you don't feel like a terrible mom, because you're not. It's just
I know. Yeah, I know. Not to bring this up, but I'm sure you, if you're into the news, there's a case of that woman. I think she was a nurse practitioner, or she worked at the NICU. I don't know what type of nurse she was, and she killed her children, and now she's paralyzed. I mean, she's here working with babies, and she loves babies, and that's her job. And it's just like, sometimes mentally things happen to your body, and it's so sad to know that not everyone's taken care of, especially if you're in the field. People think you must be fine, right? Just, is there any warning signs if someone's listening today, if their friend or family may be suffering? Could you share just a few thoughts of maybe some warning signs that we should look out for?
I think that sometimes it's hard to recognize it in yourself, because it took me 6 months, and another family member, my brother, actually saying, like, there is something wrong, like you need help, right? And I saw postpartum depression and anxiety on a daily basis. I mean, I work in the practice. I see women every day come in, but yet I couldn't recognize it in myself. I thought, oh, this anxiety is normal. It's normal to worry about your baby dying. Yes, but not a million times a day, right? So the support system needs to be educated the most. And I think that's where those conversations need to happen, like with your OBGYN and with your spouse and with your mom, your mom or your dad or whoever's supporting you, your best friends. Like, listen, these are the warning signs. Like, ask me how I'm doing. How are you really feeling? And then some people are afraid to share it, but I think that when your support system knows what's going on and knows your personality, and if they see you struggling or you're crying every time your husband leaves for work, there are those signs. And I know the husband or the wife, who if it's a female relationship, there are some changes, and they're overwhelmed too, and they're trying to deal with it. But just education about what to look for, and also education that this is okay, this is normal, you're not alone, you're not crazy person, you're not crazy psycho mom, like this is normal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And at this time of the show, we're a little over halfway, but just remind us how we can reach out to you. Tell us your contact information, website, social media pages, anything that we can reach out to you with. Thank you.
Yeah. So my website on Facebook is Women and Babies in the Know with Constance Lewis. I also have an Instagram that is the same thing, Women and Babies in the Know with Constance Lewis. But my website is a great way to contact me because you can send
you can
messages.
book directly. I saw you can book all your consults there. Oh, I'm sorry. We're stepping over each other. We got it. Repeat the website.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I know, send them all. No worries. www.womenandbabies.net. So yeah, all the consults come my way. I'm ready for you.
Yeah. And I was saying, because I saw before, you can actually book all these consults directly right there online, whether it's for you needing help with sleep or if you're needing help with lactation, which is another thing I wanted to ask you about. I don't know the proper terminology. Are you a lactation consultant?
So I'm a certified lactation consultant, but not an IBCLC. That's an international certification consultant. But my really good friend who works for me is, and she's the one that takes those tougher cases. So yeah, I have that too.
And could you tell us a little bit about lactation consulting and what someone should be expecting to look out for? Because all I know is, and as a mom, right, you're told breastfeed, it's good for them. And then sometimes it doesn't work out. Like my sister's baby didn't latch at all. Mine only, I was not, and then with me it latched, but then it wasn't producing anything. So could you give us some tips and advice on it? Because that's a scary thing. And it's a weird thing for someone for the first time. It is.
It truly is. And I was a lactation consultant and I still had an extreme amount of trouble breastfeeding. So that tells you right there, somebody that knows everything still has trouble with production and with latch and with painful nipples, everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just go, we like to talk about why, what do you want first? What are your goals? Like, do you want to breastfeed for this long? Do you want to do both formula and breastfeeding? How long do you want to breastfeed? So it's not that shameful, like, oh my God, you're not breastfeeding. It's just the support. Let's talk about how you're latching. And we like to do Zoom with that because we can actually physically see what's going on with the latch. And we have advice for mastitis. We have advice for supplements. We have advice for, anything and everything that you can think of breastfeeding, we have for you. And it is a tough journey. I mean, I breastfed both of my kids exclusively, but it was hard. I remember calling this IBCLC that's on my she works with me, and I was just crying. 6 weeks. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is insane. How do women do this? It's not a natural thing that we think of all the time, right? It just isn't. But the media and social media, whatever is out there, makes us think like this is natural and you should just do it and it's easy, and it's just not. So just really that education, that empowerment, and that support is what we provide here.
And I also read for this portion, you actually offer in-person services for your surrounding area. Well, tell us exactly where you are.
Yeah, so I live in Bradenton, Florida. So we service the Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa, and even down south as far as Port Charlotte and things, those areas. And she will come to your house, and she will do an in-person consultation to check on latch and that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of other groups out there that offer this, especially in our area, and they charge a lot more. So we try to make it reasonable for you, because we know it's hard, and we know sometimes it's not always easy to pay and cost worthy and insurance and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of pride ourselves on costs a lot less for that lactation support.
Beautiful. All right, Constance, what other aspect of your coaching and work did you want to share with us today? I know there's a lot in the notes. Just want to make sure we're covering everything.
Yeah, I know. So much to talk. I have so much to talk about. Yeah, I think that just knowing that I have been through so many ups and downs, and just so many long journeys, and all of this becoming a mother thing. And I felt so alone, even even though I had a great husband and a great family, I just still felt alone. I felt ashamed. I felt like, I wasn't me for a very long time. And working in private practice doesn't really allow me to work with those individuals one-on-one as much as I want to. So I'm here, and I started this because I want to help new families transition to this difficult time. And, I just really I don't want them or families to feel alone. I want them to feel empowered, educated, supported, like, they're not going through this alone. So that's really, my quote is never give up on your dreams, no matter how painful or difficult your journey is. I'm very passionate about what I do. I have a lot of knowledge, and I love educating, and I love sharing it. So that's really my overall, statement. Let me be there for you, so that you don't have to go through that kind of stuff alone.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's always good to have someone with the know-how, the knowledge. And I also got to say, sometimes not, I'll say that in a nice way, but not, going to like your family, your friends, and you think, and sometimes it's better to have a non-biased, non-judgmental person, because that's also a little awkward too, because it's happened to me before, and friends of friends who you rely on your family, but maybe not the best source of information because it's different. It's good to have someone who's non-judgmental when it comes to all this, that can really understand and be more empathetic, I think.
I totally agree. I mean, again, you love having your family and your friends in your support system, and that's why they're there. But sometimes just having a non-biased somebody on the outside looking in at something and just thinking outside of the box is definitely helpful. So yeah,
Now,
I agree with you.
now, if you don't mind me asking a personal question, how many months pregnant are you? How far
So
along?
I am about halfway there, basically
Okay.
19. Yeah. So I did IVF with my first two with donor egg. That's a whole nother topic.
I use donor sperm, so I'm with you on that. I
Yeah, you're with
hear.
me. Yeah. So I have a son who's 5, and I have a daughter who's almost 3. And then this is a little boy on the way. So we're excited about that, to grow the family and keep going and keep advocating and about the book. So you can read about my
Yeah,
story
tell me,
actually.
tell me, tell me. Where would we find
Yeah,
this?
so I am an author in a chapter in a book that was written by a good friend of mine, Erica Hoke. You can actually find it on Amazon. And Infertility Success is what it's called, by Erica Hoke. And I'm the second author in it. And it's just a book about stories of women who have struggled through fertility. And each chapter is about a completely different journey, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them didn't even have kids in the they ended up adopting or something, but each chapter talks about what changed and what they wished somebody had done, and the emotional roller coaster that they went through. So it's an excellent read. It's not too long. So that's out, and then we have another one coming out, Infertility Success to Total Mess, and that's about postpartum. So I have a chapter in that about how crazy postpartum can be, and what I went through postpartum as well. So that's going to be coming out at the end of this year too.
Great, thank you. And is there any advice you can give to us, expecting parents or people that want, just as far as overall health and well-being? I know people talk about being positive, less stress, but I think we're living in the stress world. After the pandemic, by the way, I want to ask, how did that affect you and your business? My goodness, because a lot of nurses with burnout, and I mean, the whole world changed, and everyone went through extra anxiety and of loss of life, loss of job, loss of career. I mean, there's just so much. And how are you with that, especially in your field? Do you notice any differences after COVID?
Yeah, I mean, the whole health environment changed, and luckily, thankfully, I wasn't a bedside nurse, because I can't even imagine how hard. I have a lot of friends that were, and it's taken a mental toll on them, a physical toll on them, and so I'm very lucky that I have kind of a private practice job. But it still affects a lot because our patients are terrified. I mean, I delivered my second baby in April. March we shut down, of 2020, and I delivered her the next month. And nobody knew what was happening, if my husband could even be in there with me. So even personally, it took a toll. And I have seen a difference. And I think actually people are using more online support coaching after COVID than we've seen. So our business has kind of increased a little from that, just because they're realizing the stressors that COVID did cause and what they went through, and they're looking for that support. And you may not be able to go or feel comfortable going to a support breastfeeding group where you're around a bunch of women, so people are better about getting out and about in the world now and going to concerts and doing things. But some people still worry, like, I don't want to go with my newborn baby to a breastfeeding support group where there's other mothers and I don't know if they have infections or whatever. So so it was a struggle. It still somewhat is. What's the right education to give somebody? What is the wrong education? Do we even know what the education is, especially around COVID these days? But for online businesses, I think that they're doing pretty good. So to focus on that, people always tell women who are trying to get pregnant, you just need to go have a glass of wine and go on vacation, and then you'll get pregnant, right? How many times did you hear that trying to get pregnant?
Yeah.
So many times. What I do, work on different types of meditation and stress relieving techniques that you will and want to do. So it's an individualized thing. So we do work on de-stressing your life. Stress and inflammation is a huge part of getting pregnant and pregnancy itself too. But it's not just just relax. There's a whole another technique to it that we aid in it. We're not therapists, psychiatrists, but we do a lot of, support with that stuff as well for stress reduction. So
got it. Perfect. Thank you. Well, Constance, remind us again how we can reach out to you. Tell us all forms of contact. And then also, where can we find the book?
Yeah. So the book is actually, you can actually buy the book from my website, and it's cheaper than Amazon. So if you go to my website, www.womenandbabies.net, and you can see everything on there. I have all the specialties we do. And I recommend people, everybody gets a free discovery call. So you just sign up, you get a free discovery call, whichever section in fertility, sleep, consultation of lactation you want. I get to talk to you. I get to know you, see what you're looking for, and then we can schedule the other consultations and the help after that. But the book is on there as well. If you want to get a book, you just message me and we'll send you that book. And then Instagram is Women and Babies in the Know, and same with Facebook, Women and Babies in the Know with Constance Lewis. So.
Awesome. And again, it's Infertility Success to Total Mess. Got to check out the book.
Yes.
Glad you're a part of it. Again, congratulations on all that you're doing. My goodness. And that's another thing. We have a lot of stress. Women these days, not just stay-at-home moms. Some are, some aren't. But there's a lot on our shoulders, as being, wives, providers, mothers. It's a lot. So I commend you on helping so many of us in need out there. And again, womenandbabies.net. Reach out to Constance. And thank you again for today, getting to know you, and looking forward to speaking again.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. And to all of our listeners, please stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.